Why is Trump putting massive tariffs on Canada? Now, he says it's because of immigration and fentanyl, but actually that's not true at all. You see, the American president is actually not legally allowed to put tariffs by himself, unless, of course, there's an emergency. So that is pretty much just the excuse. The reason he's actually doing it is because he's not happy about certain trade practices from Canada, most notably supply management, which puts massive tariffs on American dairy. He's pretty much using these tariffs on Canada as a way to try to renegotiate everything, as one of his representatives has made very clear.
Hi beautiful people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Trust y'all are doing good. Trust y'all are having a great weekend. So it's Tariff o'clock, and in today's video,
one of the biggest problems with Donald Trump's tariff plan at the moment is that corporate greed has no loyalty. The same fuckers who took advantage of a global pandemic and raised prices, the same fuckers who took advantage of global inflation and raised prices, will be the same fuckers who take advantage of these tariffs and raise prices not just to match the tariffs, but to also line their pockets as well. And sure, Trump can blame Biden continuously, but after 2-3 years of this, can he really? The same people who are loyal to Trump right now will only be loyal to the dollar later on. And it's you, the 250 million people in America who are just scraping by, who will end up paying for it all. Go MAGA. And I think what makes it a little bit worse is that Donald Trump doesn't seem to actually have a plan. Whoever the media asks him if he's going to tariff, he just says, yeah, I'm going to tariff them.
So if you were one of the people out there who was so upset about the egg prices, I'm going to ask you to get on this app and show me what your grocery bill looks like tomorrow. So it's official. We are imposing tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China starting tomorrow. So you are going to start seeing a 25% markup on things from Canada and Mexico and a 10% markup on things from China. And of course, there will be other effects because China, Canada, and Mexico are certainly going to retaliate in some way. Now, just as a heads up, I want to walk through some of the things that you can expect to cost more tomorrow than they do today. And I want to remind y'all that a tariff is a fee that you will pay as a consumer, and that money will go to our government. It does, of course, indirectly punish those countries because if the prices go up for us, then we are going to buy less. So that's less revenue for them. It also means that our dollars are stretching a little less far. So what's going to get more expensive? Number one, housing. If you have been building a house, your lumber costs are about to go up by 25% because the majority of lumber that we get in the US is from Canada. If you like your Lululemon or Aritzia, remember that those are Canadian companies. You better order it today. And I'm sorry to tell you that the vast majority of the clothing that you're buying, whether you're buying it from Amazon or TikTok Shop, which I think you all know, but also from H&M, from Zara, from like all of these companies that you all shop at, all of that is produced in China. I mean, any of the toys you buy your kid, there's a decent chance those are from China, so those are going to go up. I hope you are not in the market for a car because a lot of your car parts are being made in Mexico. If you have been saving up for a large electronic, I would go ahead and pull that trigger right now because most of your electronics, your iPhones, your laptops, all of that stuff is being made in China. Household appliances, you need like a $5,000 fridge, it's probably made in China. A lot of your fruits and veggies are coming from Mexico, y'all. It's going to get a lot more expensive. And Canada actually sends us a lot of dairy products and grain. The thing is that once these companies raise their prices, they don't like to bring them back down. We saw that after the pandemic. So I bet those $10 eggs are starting to look pretty good right now.
Trump's tariffs are here. Now, these are going to look really bad in the beginning. You're going to see the stock market crash. You're going to see the economy crash, but this is a really good thing. I'll explain why. I've said for months now that we're likely going to see the stock market crash in 2025 and that we're likely going to see the economy go into a recession in 2025. But I believe that Trump's policies are going to be good for our country. When you talk about the stock market, there's something called micro and macro. Micro means short term, macro means long term. I think that Trump's policies are going to be very good for the long term, but he inherited something from Biden that you can't fix without causing some pain in the short term. We did so much damage with Bidenomics. There really is no way, with the size of inflation we went through, where interest rates are at right now, the yield inversion, all the different things we have going on in our economy, there is no way to go through and fix what we are dealing with without going through some pains. So while I'm saying, yes, you're likely going to see the market shaken up by this a bit, and yes, I think we're going into a recession, I do think there's going to be a lot of good that comes from this, and I think it's going to help all of us in the long run. Make sure you don't forget, if you're one of the ones that want income tax to go away, this is part of that process, and there is going to be some growing pains.
Today is February 1st, and I just want to take this time out to wish everybody a happy tariff day from the United States to you. We have some guests that'll be celebrating with us. Mexico, Canada, China. Happy to have you here. We've had a long-lasting relationship. You know, we've had our ups and downs, but I think it's time now more than ever to really restore some order. Now, this is one of those holidays where it's not just a one-day thing. We're going to be celebrating for quite some time. But just because we're celebrating, I understand it's not perfect. A few things, if not all, could happen. One, Americans, our price of goods could go up depending upon which industries and what goods are produced elsewhere. Our prices could go up. We could be affected negatively by this. Two, the government can make a lot more money, decreasing our deficit, which would relinquish our responsibility to other countries, the fact that we won't owe them either any money at all or as much money as we do. It's a possibility. Three, it could lead to Americans focusing more on American-produced products. I know it could take some time. That's a possibility as well. And there could be several other effects that I'm not mentioning. So I ask, how will you be celebrating this holiday? Happy Tariff Day.
So we'll be announcing the tariffs on Canada and Mexico for a number of reasons. Number one is the people that have poured into our country so horribly and so much. Number two are the drugs, fentanyl, and everything else that have come into the country. And number three are the massive subsidies that we're giving to Canada and to Mexico in the form of deficits. And I'll be putting the tariff of 25% on Canada and separately 25% on Mexico. And we will really have to do that because we have very big deficits with those countries. Those tariffs may or may not rise with time.
It will be part of that? No, because we get oil from Canada.
Oil is going to have nothing to do with it as far as I'm concerned. Oil is.
So it looks like Danielle Smith may have saved Alberta by not having tariffs imposed on the oil and gas industry. But what Donald Trump doesn't fully understand is that there are no subsidies actually happening. When you have a trade deficit with a country, think of it this way. If there's 1,000 people that live in your village and there's 100 people that live in another village, by definition, who's going to buy more from who? It's a simple law of numbers. They are a bigger market. So of course, they're going to buy substantially more goods from the smaller country, in this case, Canada. Their market is literally 10x of people, and it's significantly larger than that. So no matter what, we will always have a trade deficit. Plain and simple. Unless every single Canadian is a multimillionaire and buying a ridiculous amount of goods and consuming them, that will always exist by default. So that's why I honestly think this is all personal.
President Trump's tariffs on Canada could be imposed as early as tomorrow. President Trump thinks Canada will cave in. We will never, ever bow down to a bully. Canadians will always stick together. And we won't stand by as tariffs hurt our workers and their families. Canadians need to remain united. Now, let me be clear. This situation, unfortunately, could not be more serious. And at times like these, we need serious leadership and a serious plan. I'm ready to stand up for Canada. Who's with me?
All right, folks, big day. It is Tariff Day tomorrow. Trumpy says it's coming, and whether it doesn't come tomorrow or if he's going to delay it, it's still coming nonetheless. So I'm going to tell you what that means for us because it's going to affect both Canadians and Americans alike. I promise you this. But before we get into that, I'm going to tell you what a tariff is and why the fuck this is happening. So let's get to the why first. This is happening because of Canada's weak borders. And so we have illegal immigrants and terrorists that are coming into Canada because it's incredibly easy to get into this country. And then they are then going across the border, literally walking across the border in some cases into the United States. So Trump wants to stop that. We also have issues with illicit drugs or the precursors to those drugs coming into our borders and either being manufactured here, like fentanyl, or shipped over and then being manufactured in the States and then being distributed amongst the population. So he wants to stop that as well. So he's asked us to strengthen our borders. That's what he wants. He's using this tariff as a way to get what he wants. That's how he works. He don't fuck around. It's pretty obvious by now, guys. What our politicians are doing, they're trying to fight fire with fire. And unfortunately, we have weak people in power, and you will not be able to handle Donald Trump. I'm going to tell you that right now. It ain't going to happen. All you need to do is fix the borders, but it appears our politicians are too stupid to figure that out. But anyway, I digress. Trump is telling us that there is a trade subsidy to the tune of $200 billion. So they are paying us $200 billion for no reason. That is not in fact true. We have a trade deficit. Folks, we have a trade deficit because the United States is 10 times the size as we are. They will naturally order in or import in more products from us than we will from them. That's the subsidy or the deficit. It's a deficit. We will never order in the same amount of product you do from us. It just doesn't make sense. We don't have the population to support that. So this is what this means. Right now, I will tell you, global distributors are already sourcing out new sources of goods. And so what we call that, in a negotiated agreement, you will want a best alternative to a negotiated agreement. So this makes sense, right? So if I'm ordering in fan parts from China and China isn't able to meet my demand, or there's issues with tariffs or taxes, I might look to India. And you typically do this well in advance. And I will tell you, a lot of the big global distributors have been looking into this for 7 or 8 months now. So they think this is going to happen. So this is what this means for everybody. We'll start with the US first. Shit's going to get more expensive for you. This will happen. You will run into rising costs on goods and services for anything that you may make or manufacture with Canadian product. You're going to have distribution issues. You're going to have supply chain issues. Shit's going to get more expensive. That cost will be passed on to the consumer. It's going to be passed on to the consumer, guys, because no professional company or large corporation in their right mind is going to compress margin. They will not compress margin. Let's take Walmart, for example. Walmart has a 3% margin. Do you think those motherfuckers are going to compress that 3%? It's already compressed. We look at other stores like Lowe's or Home Depot or other stores. They could have an 11 to 13% margin. They ain't going to compress that. They're going to take that cost and they're going to pass it off on to the consumer. That's going to happen. In Canada, what's going to happen is we will see layoffs, and it's not going to happen right away. Things are going to slow down. Because a lot of these companies may not have a best alternative negotiated, they will continue to order in product. What they're going to do is they're going to go to the provider of those products and ask them to compress their margin. And if those providers do compress their margin, then that's when we will start seeing layoffs. If the importers find product elsewhere, then we will see bigger layoffs, folks. This will happen because those materials or products will be sourced from somewhere else and they aren't going to require the Canadian product. When we start seeing layoffs happening, the Canadian government is going to start printing money. They're already prepping for this right now. We went through this during COVID, folks. So what's going to happen to Canadians is shit's going to get a lot more fucking expensive. Housing's going to get more expensive. Rent is going to get more expensive. Food is going to get more expensive. We are going to live through COVID 2.0 with these fucking tariffs. If this happens, this is serious. This will happen. We are now officially in a state of quantitative easing. We will be in a state of printing money. When we print money, we devalue currency. When we devalue currency, goods and services, other products, they go up in value because the currency loses its value. This stuff needs to get sorted out. It's not rocket science. At the end of the day, Trump wants Canada to strengthen its borders, and we should be doing that. That's a very reasonable request. Just put together a fucking plan. It's not hard. Put together the plan, provide it to them. They've already told us literally 50 times this is what they want. And until they get what they want, they are going to put tariffs on our products. You are not going to win a fight against this guy. You may as well beat your head against the wall. There's no point. Fix the borders. All right, folks, have a good day.
Hi guys, so I'm trying to make sense of this whole situation here because this tariff thing has sparked debate and intense discussion. I've listened to a lot of videos, tried to make sense of what people are saying. So we know that tariffs, and I need you guys to correct me if I'm wrong. Let's just have this discussion in the comment section. We know that tariff is a tax imposed on imported goods and services, blah blah blah, you know, and the objective that I'm seeing is that okay, maybe it's to protect domestic industries from foreign competition, which I think would increase the cost of imported goods, obviously, and this tariff can make domestic products more attractive to the consumers, and this can potentially preserve jobs and stimulate economic growth. But while we are also looking at it in that perspective, we should also look at the drawbacks, which we have significant concerns on the consumer prices. Because when these tariffs are imposed, the cost of imported goods increases definitely, and this will lead to higher prices for the consumers. I mean, the consumers will suffer for this, and it will actually have this disproportionate impact on low income households because they will struggle, practically struggle, to afford increased costs. Think also about the retaliatory trade war, because when one country imposes tariffs, other countries may actually respond with their own tariff, and this will just lead to a cycle of retaliation, escalation, job losses, economic slowdowns, and the rest of it. And I also think that this tariff would have a negative impact on the US business that rely on imported goods, because when you increase the cost of imports, tariffs can reduce the competitiveness of these US businesses in the global market. And all this will just lead to reduced sales, lower profits, and job loss. I really don't know where all this is going, but I feel that this imposition of the tariff by the Trump administration on Canada, Mexico, and China is just a complex issue. With, if they are trying to look at the benefits, they should also try to look at the drawbacks also, because I feel that in all of this, the consumers which are at the receiving end would really, really suffer for it, and that could impact a lot of people negatively. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I stand to be corrected on all I've said. Let me know what you think in the comment section about this tariff thing. I really want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing. I'll see you in my next video. Don't forget to stay safe. Ciao.